everyone who's attending the meeting this morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Meshia Mariana and I'm the chairperson of IGBIS. Before we can proceed with the business of the day, it is important to confirm that we have a quorum present as required by our constitution. I will ask our secretary, Ingrid, to count the present members and confirm if we are indeed forming a quorum to proceed with the meeting. Ingrid?
Good morning, colleagues. At this stage, we've got 25 participants. We need 28, so we are 3 short. So perhaps we should just give 5 minutes to see if there's any more members joining us.
Okay, yeah, let's wait for 5 minutes and see if more colleagues will join us.
Got 29 participants, so we've reached our quorum. So, Mersha, we can start.
Thank you, Ingrid, for confirming the quorum. We will now start with our meeting. Colleagues, Ingrid, can you please share the agenda? Thank you. Colleagues, welcome. On behalf of IGBIS, your interest group for bibliographic standard, it is my privilege to officially open this annual general meeting for the year 2024. Thank you for making time to join us today as we reflect on our achievements, discuss key developments, and plan for the future. I would like to start by acknowledging our LIASA president, Mr. Molepa, who will be joining us, and as well as Maritipi Siareng, who is the sector chair. for special libraries. And also in the attendees, I also saw our former chair of IGBIS, Fatima. Your continued support and engagement are integral to the success of our organization. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our new members who are attending the AGM for the first time. We are excited to have you joining us and look forward to your valuable contribution. We'll now go to the next item, which is confirmation of the agenda. A copy of the agenda has been circulated to all members prior to the meeting. As you see on the agenda, we have the next thing is we'll deal with attendance and apologies. Item 5 is personalia. 6 is minutes from the previous IGBIS AGM that was held on the 27th of September 2023. Under 6A, we have adoption of minutes. 6B is matters arising from the minutes. 7 is chairperson's report. Point 8 is treasurer's financial report. Item 9 is a PRO report. 10 is general, and 11 will be closing. Are there any additions to the agenda? I have one that will fall under general. The president will be joining us soon, and he will be addressing us on the transition that is happening. As you know, that LIASA is going through a restructuring. Are there any other additions to the agenda? Okay. Nothing. All right. If there are no changes or addition, may I have a proposer and a seconder to adopt the agenda as presented with the addition under item 10 for the president address? You can type on the chat box whoever is proposing and the seconder for the adoption of the agenda. Ingrid, I see there. The first one is NC Boto as the proposer, and seconder is Fatima. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the attendance and apologies. I would like to thank you for your attendance. It's noted. Are there any apologies?
Okay, Marsha, there was one apology that was received, and that was from Martha de Waal. And there's also the apology of Tini de Klerk.
Noted, Ingrid. Any other apologies, colleagues? Okay, thank you. The attendance and apologies have been noted. We'll move to item 5, which is personalia. Are there any good news, sorrows, celebrations that you want to share? Okay, I guess there's nothing to share. Okay. Let's move on to item 6, which is minutes from IGBIS AGM that was held on the 27th of September 2023. Can you share the minutes, Ingrid? A copy of the minutes has been circulated to all members in advance. Can you please make it bigger? Thank you. I hope everyone is able to see. Okay, we can go through the minutes. Thank you, Louisa. Thank you, Ingrid. We can move to page 3. Thank you, Ingrid. Colleagues, those are the minutes of 2023 IGBIS AGM. Are there any corrections to be made to the minutes? Any corrections, colleagues? Okay, if there are no corrections, may I have a proposer and a seconder to adopt the minutes as a true reflection of what was discussed on the day? Thank you, Martha. Can I have a seconder? Thank you. Thank you, Chantel. We will now move to item 6B, matters arising from the minutes. Any matters arising? Okay. If there are no matters arising, then we'll move to item 7, which is the chairperson's report. Thank you, Ingrid, for sharing the minutes. We'll move to the next item, which is the chairperson's report. Sarah?
Would you like me to share the presentation?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sure.
Thank you. Colleagues, the chairperson's report will it's from October 2023 to October 2024. Next slide, please. I'll start with the introduction of the committee. The IGBIS Executive Committee consists of 3 members, which are Meshia Moriana, the chairperson, Ingrid Hendrisi, secretary, Sarah Golby, our PRO. The office of the current executive committee started in 2021 and was originally set to conclude at the end of 2023. So during the LIASA conference held in 2023, their term of office officially ended. Then due to the organizational restructuring within LIASA, in 2023, it was not an election year and no new executive committee could be elected at the time. So the outgoing committee members were formally requested to continue serving as an interim executive committee for an additional year to ensure continuity and stability while the restructuring process was underway. As the restructuring process nears completion, the upcoming year may pave the way for the new election. So Sarah and Ingrid were requested to carry on with the additional year, which was 2024. So today, as of the end of this AGM, the committee will only be existing of 1 member, which is the chairperson, because there's our secretary and our PRO, their term ends today. We have our committee meetings. We have monthly meetings and then we do them visually. We also have the award committee meetings that we do them as and when is needed. And we have the South African Cataloging Ethics Task Team. If you remember, we had a webinar on the ethics, and then that led to us having the South African Ethics Task Team. And then also on meetings, we have events planning, the webinars that you see that we are having every month. We have meetings to plan that. Also, we do the events dry runs to ensure that all the technicalities are planned well in advance before the event can start. Next slide, please. The webinars that we held since last year, in November, we had the SEICO Global Collaboration for Authoritative Cataloging that was presented by Heidi. And out of that webinar, it led to the establishment of the South African SEICO, which is currently led by our former chairperson, Fatima Ndimakatso. And in February this year, we had metadata in digital space that was presented by Setlabo Phala. And April, metadata for the development of local taxonomies that was presented by Wynand van der Walt. In June, innovate and integrate key trends and development in library technical services by Margaret Nell. Sorry. And in July, we had the South African SEICO funnel that was presented by Ndimakatso and Fatima. This was the introduction webinar whereby they were looking for members to join the task team. In August, we had document process automation and AI in data extraction that was presented by Nicholas Zeymer. Next slide, please. For this year, we only had one IGBIS with leaders conversation, and the leader that we had this year was Kay Raseroka. In this series of conversations, it's where we try to inspire the upcoming librarians to take up on leadership positions, either in IGBIS or in LIS sector in general. So these are 1 hour long series whereby these leaders share their key aha moments and their career progression. Next slide. The IGBIS Award. The committee for the IGBIS Award consists of the current IGBIS members and the past IGBIS chairs. The introduction was, the IGBIS Award was officially approved at the 2022 IGBIS AGM with the aim of fostering a vibrant community centered around leadership and success within LIASA IGBIS. The award is designated to encourage members to actively participate and engage with IGBIS and to recognize exceptional contributions to the cataloging and metadata space, as well as in the ILS community. So in 2023 March, the committee held a meeting to discuss whether they should whether the award should be awarded in 2023, but there were funding challenges. And at that time, decision was taken not to award because the funds were not enough to cover the award. And then, next slide, please. Fast forward to 2024. Several meetings were held. In March, the award committee panel convened to decide whether the award would be granted for 2024. And indeed, they agreed that it should be awarded. And the nomination document were drafted, ensuring that they align with the award objectives. And then in April 2024, the panel finalized all the necessary documentation required for the nomination process, ensuring that all clarity and consistency for potential nominees and nominators are sorry. In May 2024, the formal call for nomination was issued to all IGBIS members, encouraging them to nominate deserving individuals who are cataloging and metadata librarians. The call was circulated widely through emails and LIASA and also all IGBIS communication platforms. The criteria was that the candidate must be a current LIASA IGBIS individual, paid up member for at least 3 consecutive years, have a recognized ILS qualification, currently be engaged in the practice of cataloging and metadata description, demonstrate high levels of professionalism. This is just to name a few. And then in June, the closing for nominations, it was the time for the closing, and the awards committee began reviewing all received submissions to ensure they met the necessary criteria. In July, the committee convened to review the nomination and assess the candidate based on their contribution. Following the adjudication, the recipient of the 2024 award was then notified so that they can register for the conference. The recipient will now write an article for the IGBIS In Touch and the LIASA In Touch publications, whereby they will highlight their achievements and the importance of the award and how it helped them. Next slide. The first recipient of the IGBIS award is Ms. Martha Mampuko. She has been honored with the recognition award during the closing ceremony at the conference, and the award covered the conference registration. She was also given the certificate and a trophy. This was presented to her in an acknowledgement of her outstanding work in the cataloging and metadata space. Next slide, please. This slide is about our membership. So we have seen an increase in our membership since 2016 to 2024. So you can see how our membership has grown. So as of today, we are at 276 members from in 2023, it was 197. Now we are at 276. I think this is a great achievement, colleagues. Next slide. Okay, I will now read the message from the chairperson of the South African Cataloging Ethics Task Team, who is not with us today. She just wants to thank everyone. So I will just read the message. The message reads like, it's from Tini de Klerk. Good morning, colleagues. Since mid-2022, IGBIS started its cataloging ethics journey, which is slowly drawing to a close. without members' participation throughout. The first of an experience for IGBIS wouldn't have been possible. Professionals volunteered to serve on the cataloging ethics task team, and heads of cataloging departments support it. Even took part in fine-tuning our questionnaire distributed later. Without professional catalogers and metadata specialists to complete the questionnaire, it would all have been in vain. All CETT members afterwards started working on the data collected, and CETT representatives, including other interested IGBIS members, formed a core compilation team to produce the report, of which the completed draft was submitted yesterday. Writing up the report, Ethics in South African Descriptive Metadata Practice, was quite a learning curve with many iterations of the report before this completed draft. A special word of thanks goes to Sarah Golby, Fatima Deris, Martha Gival, Meshia Moriana, and Pelisiwe Kele for their dedication in finalizing this report. All along, the IGBIS ESCO under leadership of Fatima ensured that colleagues stayed updated on this venture. The final report will be published soon after addressing a few finishing touches. Thereafter, the only IGBIS task team that I'm aware of will also conclude its business. Receive here by my sincere appreciation towards each and everybody who journeyed along, especially CETT members. Of course, a crucial member of the coordination team was the CETT Secretary, Karen Oxley. Enjoy the reading. Once the report is done, Ethics in South African Descriptive Metadata Practices has been published. Regards, Tini de Klerk. That is the message from Tini, the chairperson of the Cataloging Ethics Task Team, thanking all of you colleagues for contributing in the ethics. I will now hand over to the PRO, who will give her report. Thank you.
Good morning, Misha. Are we doing the Treasurer's report first? I see that's item 8 on the agenda.
Yes, sorry, it's the Treasurer. Then after that, it will be the PRO. Ingrid, over to you.
Thank you, Mersha. The Treasurer report is very short and sweet. The most important thing is that we are in the black and we are had a quite successful year. We opened up our accounts with 25,404 rands, 71 cents. And that is our day-to-day functioning account. And then we have a cash accelerator account, which is our investment account, in which we have the 152,338 rand. It is because of this money in the investment account that we are able to do the IGBIS award. And indeed, the award was awarded this year. And the only payments that we made that came out of our account was for the IGBIS award, which was the registration, the actual trophy, and the certificate. So this is, unfortunately, we cannot get audited results because of that we are part of the LIASA. There's one account, and so this is what we get from the LIASA office and the accountants. So I don't know if there are any questions that I can perhaps be able to ask any questions. as to the financials. So we are looking quite good. Okay, I think that's it for the financial report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. Sarah, are you ready?
As I'll ever be. I'm going to share my screen now. Just a moment. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to give you an overview of what's been happening with our public relations and social media during the last year. We're going to look at the period from September 2023 through to October 2024. September was when we had our last AGM. So we'll be just doing a review from that period. This morning, I'm going to take a look at our Facebook page, give you a little update on the IGBIS in Touch newsletter, also tell you about the LIASA IGBIS microsite, and let us know, I'll let you know how we get feedback on our webinars and events. So the IGBIS Facebook page was launched in 2019. As of this past Tuesday, the page has 947 page likes and 1,031 followers. During this year, posts on our page have focused on IGBIS-hosted webinars, the IGBIS Award, and professional development opportunities from outside institutions like webinars and resource materials. During the past year, we've seen a large upswing in page visits in comparison to last year. High numbers feature in mid-December, likely coinciding with the release of our IGBIS in Touch, and as well as in January and March 2024. New follower figures have remained fairly static compared to last year. During the period from September to October, we gained 127 new followers. As of Tuesday, as I stated at the beginning of the presentation, we now have 1,031. We had the highest rate of new followers during the second half of January and towards the end of March 2020. So Facebook offers a breakdown of your audience demographics and remains pretty much the same as last year too, where we find that women are our primary audience, which I think ties in with a lot of studies done in library and information science demographics. In terms of location, South Africa naturally has the highest representation. Last year, Namibia and Zimbabwe also appeared in these statistics, but seem to have fallen away to Greece and Vietnam. Most of our followers base themselves in Cape Town, followed by Soweto and Pretoria. A nice parameter you can now measure in analytics is visitors' interaction with content posted on your page. Content interaction measures the number of likes, reactions, saves, comments, shares, and replies on your content and posts. Link clicks indicate the number of times visitors follow links and URLs in our posts to pages either on or off Facebook. Over the last 14 months, we can see that visitors, most particularly our followers, have been engaged with the content posted on our page. So they're really looking at the content, investigating it, hopefully registering for all those webinars and workshops. So I'm just going to briefly look at some of the content that we post. We use it primarily to promote our webinars and events. In the lead up to webinars, we post the event details on Facebook, and we also follow up with a summary and a link to the YouTube recording. So on 27 February, we had our first webinar of the year with Setla Opala, And on 24th of April, we hosted Wynand van der Walt from Rhodes Universities. On the 6th of June, Marguerite Nell joined us to discuss trends in library technical services. And on the 1st of August, we had Nicholas Zimmer from FC Tech, who came to join and explain and demonstrate just how valuable metadata is to the digital preservation of heritage materials. Particularly important event for the community was the webinar on the 4th of July with the South African SECO funnel coordinators Fatima Daries and Mkatso Malangani Nechifume. As Mersha indicated in her chairperson's report, this was a follow-up to the November 2023 webinar with Heidi Bertolt from the Library of Congress. Fatima and Demakatsu explained the processes and rationale behind developing this project, which will have an impact on South African description within the Library of Congress subject headings. Our last event for the year was on 29th of August, when we ran another IGBIS with Leaders talk, this time with Kay Rasaroka, who shared her extraordinary career path. And of course, you can always find all the IGBIS conversations with leaders recordings on the LIASA YouTube site. Just search for the tag IGBIS with leaders. Of course, all our other webinars are also recorded and uploaded to YouTube. We also share news about our cataloging and metadata community and the library and information science profession at large. This year, we celebrated the inaugural IGBIS Award and the winner, Martha Mampoke, who received her award at the LIASA conference last month in Durban. We also recognized Naomi Hasbrook for her Lifetime Achievements Award. Naomi was our second IGBIS with Leaders guest speaker. And of course, we had a great October last year with a successful LIASA conference in Cape Town, and we celebrated Mersha's step up to IGBIS chair at the end of the month. Furthermore, we also post resources and information from other institutions that can enhance our community's professional development. This will include published documents, surveys, virtual workshops, online courses, and webinars. Our IGBIS in Touch newsletter is going to have its 18th edition this year, and it will be our final issue for IGBIS as an interest group. This issue will be including articles on our activities for the past year, which will also feature links to resources and the webinar recordings. We also have guest writers sharing on topics concerning the South African SECO funnel, the cataloging ethics report due for final distribution at the end of this year, and some reflective pieces on IGBIS and its history. The IGBIS microsite is our LIASA members-only portal. We strive to keep the site up to date with links to all our events. You can see our webinars and all the conversations with leaders posted on our events page. We're also going to be including pages for the final cataloging ethics report and the IGBIS award. We often use the email function, which has been our way of making sure that we are reaching IGBIS membership directly with notices of upcoming events. Finally, we have continued to use Google feedback forms to engage with our community so that we can understand what you want from our events. The forms have produced some invaluable information, and I thought I'd just share some examples. So the first quote is from feedback on Nicholas Zimmer's presentation, and the question was, are there any issues or topics you would like IGBIS sessions and guest speakers to focus on? And one respondent's response was, future tech, investing and incorporating education tools such as VR to bring the world closer to those underserved communities, allowing them to travel the world and to grow their perspectives and passions. The second quote from the feedback following Kay Rasaroka's presentation was in response to the question, what was the most important thing you learned from this session? And the respondent told us it's not just about volunteerism, but also contribution to one's growth and impact to the profession as a whole. As you can see, we have some insightful and thoughtful community members who drive us to provide the content that our professionals seek. The feedback from webinar attendees has helped us when planning our events for the year. This year, there's been a focus on innovations in metadata applications, and this was a result of these feedback forms. So I hope that in the future, whatever form IGBIS takes, that the committees will consider continuing the use of these forms. And that's it for the public relations report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Sarah, for sharing as to how visible the IGBIS is. Colleagues, are there any questions on the chairperson's report, financial report, and the PRO report? You can either raise your hand or comment on the chat function. Is everything clear? Any clarity? Okay. Without any questions, we'll now move on to item 10, which general. Under general, we will have the president. I hope he's here. Yeah, okay, I see his name there. Who will be addressing us today, as we are aware that LIASA is restructuring. So even the interest groups are also coming to an end, paving a way for the community of practice. So the president, together with Maditipi, they will take us through the process as to how is it going to affect us as an interest group, and then what is, and also the expectations. President, over to you. And thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping to switch on my video so that you can be sure you're not talking to a robot. However, I've been locked out by my office. Start my video, it doesn't. Okay, fine. Anyway, I'll speak to it. Colleagues, thank you very much. As you would know that we, in the last few years, LIASA has been trying to restructure so that they comply with the requirements for SAQA, to comply with SAQA requirements for professional bodies. However, the process has taken longer than we anticipated, and therefore we only find ourselves 6 years later, only this year, early this year, that we had a successful adoption of the Constitution, and then we are now implementing that Constitution. So one of the things that one of the issues raised on the Constitution centered around community of practice, and it was evidently clear from the previous previous council at the time that there are interest groups that are quite agile and are successful, and we should rather keep them the way they are, to make sure that we process them. The only difference is that instead of labeling them interest group, we will label them community of practice. So that is the current situation that you find ourselves in. Other interest group, by their own nature, they then took up the status of being a sector. You know, you look at, for instance, interest group on special libraries. It became a sector for special libraries. Helig became a sector for higher education and research institution. PECLIC interest group became a sector, public and community library sector. So those that were sector-based, then they became sector units within the board. So today, one of the main thing, I was looking at your agenda. I was hoping to see that you would probably have already looked at how would you like to, based on what we discussed at the AGM, that would have already identified or worked on a couple of names that you would like to use, and secondly, the issue of the election of the office bearer, even if it's at the interim, whilst you need to finalize your remit. Because remember now, because you are a committee, the committee of a board, you, instead of having a constitution like we used to have with interest group, we had a constitution, you will now have what we call a remit, or terms of reference, to say this is an interest, this is a committee of practice, this is how it's going to work. So my take is that maybe I can speak quickly to the issue of the name, right? So I've been talking to colleagues, even from IGBIS side, you know, and I found that colleagues were uncomfortable with talking about it to a stage that there are even no names floating around. I'm not sure. Maybe let me pause here and just find out from the current committee and colleagues on the platform, did they consider any specific names that we can look at as a committee of practice before I share with colleagues what is coming from EXCO side. I'm trying to, yes.
Yes, Mr. President, not yet. We had our committee meeting on Tuesday. So we did discuss that, but we did not yet share it with the members. So we just thought that we will talk to them on this meeting today about the name proposal.
Maybe if your committee could share, then I can also share what came into my mind looking at the work that you have done and that you would have to continue to do.
So far from the committee, we didn't really have a specific suggestion for a name yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so colleagues, I toyed with a couple of names. One is BISCOP, BIS-COP, which stands for Bibliographic Information Community of Practice. Meaning just taking away IG in front and replacing with COP at the back. But at the same time, one of the things that came into mind is that IGBIS, it's already a recognized brand. And it's a name. If you look at IFLA, for instance, some small committees are actually called they've got a concept of interest group also as community of practice. So my thinking was that also that maybe looking at IGBIS as a brand, because if you look at what we have done in terms of your magazine, in terms of the way you communicate with your members, what would be the impact? Would it benefit LIASA and the committee of practice if we change that? What would be involved? What would come with that involvement? So my one of the proposal that I was gonna put forward to IGBIS members is that maybe let's, even if we decide to keep, maybe we can keep the name IGBIS. And with that issue to say it's although it's not an interest group, but it's an interest group in a context of the way IFLA has a context of an interest group, people with interest in bibliographic standards, in information standards. So in that context, that would be the name, but the definition of that name is that this is a community of practice for colleagues in there. So that is a proposal that I thought, listening to your former chair, you could see that people were feeling very high, not hurt per se, but letting go of something that has grown to this magnitude. It might not be a good, and from the board side, from the presidency side, actually, when I'm looking back, looking at that and just looking at your reports and where you are, I wouldn't want us to start from scratch. And that was the feeling also of the previous EXCO, to say those interest groups that are well functioning, we should not destroy them, but they should just flip over and become a community of practice. But this one, in terms of the name, seeing that the name has created this brand, that was one proposal that I thought, let me bring it to you guys, so that when you decide on the name, that's one option that you can also look at. I'm not sure if there are any questions. If there are any questions, just broadly on LIASA and the structuring, but also if you would like to probably speak on this issue, because that is what I thought. Let me come and share with you. And colleagues, the main thing, what we will also want you to do, and that's a responsibility of the committee that is going to come into office today, whether on an interim measure whilst you prepare for, or whether it's for the duration of this term of office, which ends in 2027, is to make sure that also we would request one person, even if it doesn't come from the committee, but the committee had to identify a person who then will represent the committee of practice on the CPD side, on the CPD committee, because the CPD committee is the one that does evaluation either for training, for courses, and also for CPD points. So we need experts from the metadata and cataloging side to also be a member in the CPD committee, so that the issues around standards and quality of training that is offered by LIASA to catalogers and to metadata specialists, it's at the level that is required. And two, if another body, for instance, comes in and say, look, we want to be recognized to give training, when the CPD review that, they would tap on this committee of IGBIS or of this committee of practice that you are, to say, okay, here is the committee, this is a document that they've submitted, they want to be recognized as a training provider within our sector. Can you please look at it? And then you would look at it, appraise it, and then that member would then relate that to the CPD committee. Thank you. I see a comment from Fatima. It says, I support the president proposal that IGBIS retain the name and the brand with a new context of community of practice. Thank you, Fatima. Yeah, Chair, over to you to coordinate in terms of if there are any questions, I'm available to answer any. And thank you very much for the hard work and what we have done over the years. And I look forward to the success of this community of practice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President, for availing yourself and for giving us clarity on what is happening with the restructuring. Colleagues, are there any other questions to the President? This is an opportunity for you. Colleagues, are you there? No questions at all. Oh, Fatima, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, colleagues. I wanted to ask what the responsibilities are for the IGBIS committee during this interim period, bearing in mind that people have not yet, we don't yet know who that interim committee is for IGBIS.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Fatima. The main one really is just to coordinate the drafting of the terms of reference, or what we call a remit. So, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. What you can do, you can go to the previous IGBIS constitution, and then you can take out whatever you can take that one and panel beat it to reflect to whatever that you intend to do. And the good thing about the remit is that you can always update it at your AGM from time to time. Unlike previously, where the constitution, it had to go through they were so sort of standardized, and they had to go through the process of going through the broader AGM. This, in terms of the community of practice, it's quite agile. You guys, because you know the nature of your industry where you are operating, you then draft these terms of reference to say this is what this committee is going to be responsible for. But the main one is really to draft the remit or the terms of reference. And my suggestion is that you can keep the current structure, whereby you've got your chair-elect, your chair, and those portfolios that you have worked with. The only portfolio that you may want to add, because unless you know that the chair or the chair-elect doesn't have too much responsibilities, the person who would then represent IGBIS on the CPD committee, you may decide whether you want a person who is within this, amongst the office bearers, or you are going to have an additional portfolio of somebody who represents, he's more on the CPD committee, but he sits on your committee as an ex officio. So that whatever happens at the CPD continuous professional development, you guys know about it, and whatever you want implemented within LIASA, within CPD, your voice it's channeled to that. So that would be the main function of this committee, is to, in the past we used to say constitution, but now going forward for committee of practice, it will be either a remit or the terms of reference of IGBIS. And if you can work faster, because we are going to, LIASA is going to establish they are going to establish a constitutional review committee very soon, because we need to just fill the gaps. As if you remember at the AGM, one of the things that you mentioned is that we are going to start the process so that we fill the gaps in the constitution, so that we get, so if your remit moves faster, it can serve as a guideline for other community of practice that would like to be formed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fatima, you answered?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions for the President?
Maybe one last thing, colleagues. We've got colleagues that studied in the past and have national diplomas or higher diplomas. There were a number of different library qualifications that are not recognized now for getting a designation professional librarian. In terms of SAQA requirements, we are supposed to assist those colleagues to get designation through RPL processes. So, anybody, as I'm saying this thing, the younger generation of the 80s have no idea what I'm talking about. But these are the qualifications that existed in the 70s and the early 80s. And after the big merger of universities, most of those qualifications cease to exist. However, what SAQA is saying is that those people have got this qualification, and because they've been working in the sector, around the sector for a long time, they then have this expertise. So we need to, as an association, give them an opportunity to apply what you call recognition of prior learning and award them the designation professional librarian, although they don't have the underlying qualification. So if there are any amongst colleagues who have the what we call legacy qualifications of the TSA and UNISAs of the past, please you can reach out to Apelele, and then we would get the CPD committee to kickstart that process and see if you qualify to be recognized. And obviously there will be those assessments that one has to go through, and then we would then give the designation. I just thought it's one of the most, it's quite important for me, because when SAQA reviews, when SAQA review us next year for reaccreditation, they want to see if we have done the RPL to accommodate those colleagues that have legacy qualifications. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, President. Any other questions, colleagues? Okay, thank you very much, President, for your address. I think we are now clear of what is needed from us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Can I be excused? Thank you, colleagues. Have a good day.
Yes, no problem. Thank you. Bye-bye. Colleagues, as the President said, we have to agree on the name going forward for IGBIS as a community of practice. And I see Fatima has already indicated that she supports that we retain the name IGBIS, but it will take a context of the community in practice. Can I see people who are for that and those who are not, so that we can have a way forward? Those that say IGBIS, we retain the name IGBIS, by just show of hands or Thumbs up. Thank you, Tolakele. Thank you, Lindy. Thank you, Kolofelo. Thank you, Nti. Thank you, PK. Thank you, Nomvuyelo and Claudia. Thank you, colleagues. I see many support the idea of retaining the name. And Talagel is saying, given that work done regarding the branding, I support the continuation with the current identity. Thank you, colleagues. Therefore, from this meeting, it is decided that the IGBIS name will be retained. Thank you. As I said, colleagues, thank you, Sesimadi TP. You can be excused. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate. Thank you. Okay. As I indicated when I was introducing the committee that our secretary and PRO for this year, they were serving as interim. So can I please get volunteers for the interim committee, so that we can start working on the community of practice as the president has indicated. At the conference, we got two volunteers. The other one is Dimam Nengi, who said he will be interested in serving. And the other one, Fatima, please help me if I remember the name correctly. It's Fabi F. Ibrahim. Is the name correct, Fatima?
I think it's correct, and I see that she is attending, Madam Chair.
Or she
Maybe
is
she
attending.
can also just confirm, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Are you here, Famida Banu? Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm trying to see if she's confirming. Okay, we already have people.
Madam Chair, I see her hand is raised.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Ibrahim, you can unmute and speak. Femi, please unmute yourself, or you can write on the chat box. Ingrid, please note Kolofelo, Tolakele, and Chantel, they've raised their hand to be the volunteers. Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much for volunteering. I think this will conclude our volunteering, and then we will be in contact with you soon to get a way forward. We are now nearing the end of our meeting. Any comment before we close? Fatima?
Madam Chair, may I suggest that
Yes.
the terms of reference for IGBIS is worked on as a matter of priority, and that we and you give yourself at this AGM a period of time to do it and to then present it to the community again for final inputs.
Okay. Noted. When can we do that? Fatima?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm thinking that we should do it. Can you hear me?
Okay, you can go ahead. Yes, you can go ahead.
I would suggest that you do it before we close this year, because as we've heard from the LIASA president, they are going to go into the review of the constitution. And when we have finished ours, we then, ours as an IGBIS, it will also serve as an example for other communities of practice.
Okay, noted. We will do that, and then after we'll come back to the members to present that for your comments before we submit it to the LIASA executive. Thank you. Any other comments? I see PK Mlumbi. Can you share the minutes of the previous meeting? The minutes are available on the IGBIS microsite on the LIASA website, but we will share the minutes. Thank you. The minutes will be shared. Okay, thank you, Famida. Any other questions or comments before we close? Okay, we'll now do the closing. Colleagues, thank you very much for your attendance, your engagements, your support throughout. You have been supporting us throughout. And I would also like to extend my sincere to the interim committee, Sarah and Ingrid. You have been a pillar to this committee. Thank you very much for your hard work. I really do appreciate. Colleagues, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.